Yes, so good morning from both of us. It's not going to be an interview, actually.
No.
It's,
but we can change it.
We can change it also, yeah, but we also have time for questions afterwards. I'm pretty sure that you will all going to have lots of questions. It's always a way when always Nestlé presents, I'm used to that. So, like I said, please don't, like Klaus also said, we're known, or we know that you guys always have lots of questions when it comes to our strategies and roadmaps when we pick up the topic of sustainability, so we're used to it. So we are happy to be here. Maybe just a first introduction of myself. My name is Corinna. I'm working for Nestlé since quite a long time, 15 years, 16 years now. So I've gone through all the changes also within Nestlé. I've been in the Nestlé building when KitKat attacked us almost 10 years ago now, when we had the palm oil scandal and so on. So I do know a lot about how Nestlé changed internally. And the story is today about our climate roadmap. Happy to be here. Loïc?
Fantastic. So welcome. Also from my side, my name is Loïc Maßen. I'm the head of sales. I have a food retailing background and now since 2 years part of ClimatePartner. And before starting with the agenda, I hope I'm pushing the right button. Yeah, looks good. I guess Nestlé doesn't need any intro. We know who Nestlé is, but ClimatePartner probably is not known for everyone. So just one slide to explain who we are, what we do. We are a climate action solution provider for holistic climate action strategies. That is the sentence with a lot of buzzwords. So let's find out what this actually means. We provide solutions, software solution, consulting services and support for corporates for every single step within their climate action strategy. So from the accounting part to the wide range of consulting services when it's about climate action strategies, SBTs, net zero, CDP reporting, up to supply chain solutions and the green energy services, carbon offsetting, and the communication part, which is mainly focusing our label, which you will see a bit later. One thing I would like to point out, I think this is this button, is maybe how we developed over the last 15 years of experience, is that 10 years ago we already saw that if we want to scale up climate action, we will need automation and efficiency. And 10 years ago we took the decision to build in-house software development team who develops accounting software. That was the starting point. Today the team is more than 50 people just developing software, which enables us simply to scale up climate action, not just for the accounting part, also for the reduction part, for supply chain, which is right now by far the biggest topic, and also for green energy, carbon offsetting and communication. So that's all about ClimatePartner. As we're already a bit behind schedule, let's jump into the agenda for today. And we have 3 topics. First, Corinna will give you a little insight about the climate strategy and roadmap of Nestlé. Then I will present you a case study of the Nestlé Wagner Piccolinis. And to end today's session, Corinna will again take over and present to you some of the CO2 reduction projects that are a bit more strategic and where Nestlé is putting its focus in the upcoming years. So I give you that.
Thank you, Loïc. Yeah, so let's jump right in our climate roadmap. It was in the year 2018 where our CEOs decided, okay, we have to change our sustainability strategy. We have to be more straightforward in committing, because we do know, and this is also what our CEO always points out, we do know that the climate crisis really is the biggest threat for our society. Why is it also a threat for Nestlé? I mean, it's a company that has been there for over 150 years. And if you take it from a strategic point of view, the company wants to exist also another 150 years. But we all know that if the climate change will come even more challenging, I would say, or if the degree will raise to 3 degrees Celsius, it's going to have a huge impact on the agriculture, on how food companies will have to work. So it's our biggest concern actually, and we do know that we have to be the first company who really needs to change, because then all the other food companies will also change in starting to commit on the 1.5%, 1.5 degree Celsius target. Yeah. So in 2018 we said, okay, we're gonna commit that we will have our activities, we need to reduce our footprint to net zero. So we calculate our footprint, and we are very transparent about our footprint. We communicated it, I think, in last year, December. We have a total of 92 million tons of CO2. If you only take a look at scope 1, 2, and like scope 1 and 2, right here, manufacturing and packaging, you only see a footprint of around 11 million tons of CO2. So this actually is not the big impact here. We're talking about our real impact, especially in the area of ingredients. Yeah, so this is actually where over 70%, in Germany it's almost 80% where our footprint really comes from. So it's from the ingredients, it's from the raw materials that we source from our farmers, from the smallholders, but also from the bigger companies. And this footprint includes our commitments. So we're not only talking about buying maybe PPAs for our factories, it's not only about changing the packaging to be more recyclable and so on. So it's really working with the farmers on the ground to reach a net zero target. So what is in scope? Like I said, we are looking at the footprint from farm to fork. Scope 1, 2, and 3 is included into our commitment. And if you understand, we have over 500,000 farmers who directly deliver us the raw materials like milk or like coffee or like cocoa, but we have way more farmers delivering us the raw materials through our suppliers. Like in Germany, the big dairies that we have here in Germany, the big other companies like Hagel and so on. There are like more than 500,000 farmers really behind it, and that we want to work together with it. So it's going to be a huge, huge impact, and that's why also it will take us a little bit longer. So we said, we're not talking about buying carbon credits, by the way. We're just talking about insetting. Yeah, so our commitment is only about insetting. Yeah, our target is really to reach net zero in 2050. And we have 2 other targets in the next 5 years to already reduce it by 20%, and until 2030 to reduce the footprint by 50%. Yeah. So how are we going to do that? So we said in the next 5 years we really have to get moving, get move faster. It's more about cooperation and collaboration with all the suppliers, the main suppliers that we have, supporting those suppliers to really work with their farmers to reduce the footprint. So currently, if we talk to the procurement departments, and if they buy raw materials, they say the quality is important and the price is important. Pretty soon, it's going to be also, what about your CO2 footprint? Yeah, because I think in the short run, we will have another figure here. It's going to be very important that the suppliers also need to tell us, okay, that the raw material XYZ has a footprint of that gram or kilogram of CO2. So it's gonna get more important here. And I just want to point out 2 activities which will be very important if you do believe, if you remember that our footprint is really coming from the raw materials. So there are 2 important things. First of all, for sure, 100% deforestation free is important. I know we are currently at 90%, so we really have to get going here in the next year until 2022. We're gonna be at 100%. This is really our target that we need to achieve, because as you know, it's more important to first stop foresting, and then after you have to plant new trees, yeah, to really go into the removal area. So we said every year we want to plant 20 million trees, which is quite a high number. So this one is the first point. The second point I want to point out is the area of regenerative agriculture here. We know that our main ingredients has really come from the arable land. It's about wheat, it's about dairy, it's about potatoes, it's about coffee and cocoa. So we really need to keep the emissions in the ground and to change the methodology or the methods that the farmers usually practice on the ground. We heard something about precision farming this morning. This is something that we're looking in, but there are some other methods behind it. I think I need to get going, right? So Nestlé Germany, maybe just this was a global footprint, the global climate roadmap for us. But to give you 2 more slides about what we're having in Germany. So this is our footprint in Germany. As you can see, also it's about 70–80%. The footprint is relying on the raw materials. Then it goes down into packaging. Production logistics really is very, very low. The footprint here is very low. We have to do some actions here, and we have to clean up our farm first, you know, at home where we live, our home base. But for sure, the biggest impact really is in the agriculture. And the roadmap, how we're going to do that in Germany, we always say it's 3+1. So I'm going to go into details here a little bit later after Loïc presents. But most important is really to go into the agriculture areas, to work together with the farmers, work together with the suppliers, go into collaboration and cooperation. The second thing is, and I heard something about veggie projects here this morning, why do we need meat and fish here? We do believe heavily that we will change more our product portfolio. You've seen maybe what Nestlé invested in factories only producing vegetarian material or products. So we're going to move our product range heavily into the vegan and vegetarian areas. In some countries, we've just launched the pea milk called Wunder. Hopefully it will come to Germany also soon. But the company really is investing heavy in that area. And the third lever is rethinking our work processes. It's not only reducing, it's really rethinking. Yeah, we have to find new ways how to reduce our emissions here. But, and this is something very important, we need to take our consumers with us. And here we're talking about, because we see there's a big need and there's the consumers are struggling because they don't really know what is really climate neutral, what is carbon neutral, how can we make an impact here? And we do know that there's a big will in Germany and also worldwide to understand more about how can we as a consumer have an impact here. So we think it's very important that we take some of our brands and communicate the carbon neutrality, in German we say klimafreundlich oder klimaneutralen Produkte, on our products, yeah? Because we can only make the shift if we take the consumers along. And this is really how we want to go on also in Germany. We have started in Germany with 2 products. It's a baby food product called Little Steps, and the Wagner Piccolinis. The Wagner Piccolinis are klimaneutral, so carbon neutral, since the summer this year. And we did work together with ClimatePartner here for the LCA and going a little bit deeper, and I'll give to you, Loïc.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So just maybe from my perspective, we work with nearly 500 food production companies, and what I like about this approach is simply that it's matching net zero SBTs, and not just like a long-term target in 2030, 2040, but there is short, mid, and long-term reduction targets, and I think this is some kind of a blueprint for the industry. So today, or now, I would like to speak about Nestlé Wagner, the Piccolinis, and about the project we have conducted here together with Nestlé. In the beginning, we were defining a 4-step process, starting with the corporate carbon footprint, scope 1, 2, and 3. In scope 3, we excluded the use phase because we wanted to have a look at the use phase on the product level. This leads me to step 2, product carbon footprint. In a total, there were 13 different Piccolini pizzas. We calculated the baseline, and after reduction, how much have we achieved in reductions. And here, the system boundaries were cradle to grave. Once we had done the accounting part, our results have been validated by a third party, independent third party. And once we got the approval, we started with the step 3, which was several climate action workshops in which we analyzed together the results, and we derived a strategy, and we derived reduction targets and possibilities, potentials on short, mid, and long term. We will come to that a bit later. Which is maybe important to understand, Nestlé has, which is I think very great, a clear guidance internal that to claim carbon neutral, you first have to prove that the product, the specific product has already achieved reductions. The last step was then the carbon offsetting, and it's clear that there's a roadmap to reduce the offsetting over time, but there's a clear commitment to take responsibility for the emissions they are causing today. At Nestlé, there is an internal NGO committee, I hope it's the name, yeah, NGO committee who screened our projects and decided on which project to support. It's a gold standard clean cook stove project in Kenya, supporting social benefits and especially empowering the role of women in the project area. So now let's deep dive a bit into these 4 steps. Here you can see the footprint of Nestlé Wagner. So we are speaking about 250,000 tons of CO2 equivalents. So of course we take into consideration all greenhouse gases. And I mean, it's not surprise ingredients play the major role. I think it's way more interesting even to go deeper into the product analysis. We have always made the experience, if you really want to go into product innovation, you will have to go on product to understand the life cycle phases and to understand where is really potential lying for reduction. And I just want to point out 2 things. First, the use phase, which is quite high, was a surprise for us all, with 46%, and the ingredients, here of course, the animal products play a major role. In regards to the use phase, 2/3 of the use phase actually is related to the baking process at home. That is quite high and was a surprise for Nestlé and also for us to see how much the consumers actually contributing to the LCA of this product, to the footprint of this product. Ingredients, here of course we see very much that animal products, dairy and meat play a role. And what here was maybe an interesting insight is that for pizza, if you're able to replace beef by pork, you still have a meat pizza, right? But just by replacing it without having any disadvantage on taste and quality has already a significant impact on reduction. One thing which happened this year is that Nestlé or Wagner launched 3 new pizzas, which are vegan and vegetarian. And as you can see, they have now a way lower footprint as the classical salami pizza we all know probably. And they were able to save up more than 50% of the total footprint. An interesting part here when it comes to reduction is that, of course, for vegan pizza, you need also vegan dough. Would not make sense without it. And this dough is now being used for any piccolini pizza. So now also when you have a salami pizza, the dough is made of a vegan dough. But now let's deep dive a bit more into the topic which probably is the most interesting for everyone. What came out of the analysis when it comes to reduction? This is an overview, of course there's a bit more, but this is the most important ones, and I want just to highlight a few of them. So the first one, ingredients and recipes. It's clear we will need to replace or at least reduce the amount of animal products by, for instance, plant-based varieties. But at the moment we see also there is still demand for milk and there's still demand for cheese and there's still demand for meat. We also have to take into consideration what consumer wants. And that's why Nestlé is very much committing to regenerative agriculture, a topic you will see afterwards by Corinna. Packaging, I think it's a no-brainer. We need to reduce it, and we can maybe also in the future put in more bio-based, but I would like to focus more on the right side. Production, the production is already running on renewable. I just learned actually they're using physical PPAs from a wind park, which is just next door of the production plant. They have, of course, also an energy management system and also a zero waste strategy. One other reduction which has been able to implement since the analysis was in the transport sector. Tomatoes coming mostly from Italy and in the past by truck. That have been changed. Now they come by rail, which also conducted to significant reductions. And one part which is probably a bit more tricky, I'm not a pizza baker, unfortunately, but the colleagues told me, is if 2/3 of the use phase, and the use phase is the life cycle phases with the most significant impact on the product of carbon footprint, is due to the baking time, of course, it would make sense to reduce the baking time at home. At the moment, it's not that easy if you want to keep taste and quality, but this is more strategic approach where in the future maybe here new possibilities will arise. And where does it lead us? In the end, now the piccolinis are carbon neutral, and not just the vegan and vegetarian ones, but Nestlé is committing here for the whole range of piccolinis, also the meat products. And now comes the crucial part, how can you communicate it transparently and credibly to the consumers? This is essential because afterwards it's about communication and transparency. And for this, Nestlé is using the ClimatePartner carbon neutral label, which you can find in the future on the Piccolinis, where of course you have carbon neutral, but you have the category, and the most important part, you have an individual ID tracking number. It's like a website, an URL. You can also add the QR code, which will lead the consumer to a page where he will find or she will find all information related to this engagement to understand what does it actually mean. So you will find in several languages information about Nestlé. You will find information about the methodology, how the accounting has been conducted. You will find the climate action strategy, reduction measures that have been implemented. The consumer can download certification about the offsetting and about the carbon neutrality. The transparent order mechanism is also being communicated. This is important because maybe in 5 years, consumer wants to understand what has Nestlé done in 2021, and he will be able to do it. And the most important part, consumer will have the possibility actually to understand what is this carbon offsetting project actually all about. And here, just a little info how it looks like. So you go on the market, you are on pizza, you scan the label, and you will land on the ID tracking, and there you can click on the project, and this will lead you to the project page of this respective carbon offsetting project. And you will find all information about the standard certification, about geolocalization, about project description, technology description. You will find information about the SDGs and which SDGs are being supported. And all this with pictures and videos to make sure it's as tangible as possible and easy to understand as possible. And this leads me now to the title of today, how contributes carbon neutral products to the roadmap. In the end, carbon neutral products help to understand and bring transparency on product level. They help to understand where on product level you really have innovation possibilities. So they are pushing product innovation. It gives possibilities to take responsibility for them today and not just in 20 years. And most importantly, it gives the consumer the possibility to make a sustainable choice and to encourage companies who are on their way to net zero by buying these carbon neutral products, in this case, the Piccolinis. And I think now it's, again, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Julien. I hope I get a few more minutes because I can see time is already up. But I think this is the most important part here now. How do we, and when we set up the climate roadmap, be clear here, we don't have all the answers yet. Yeah, we do know that when it comes to really working on the strategy, finding out which are the right levers and so on, we don't have all the answers yet, but we have a will to change it. And we do think we know how to get the knowledge on board in the next years to come. So, like I said, I will come back to our reduction levers that we're gonna work on. The middle part, expand and redesign the product range. It's a little bit slow here. Like I said, I think Nestlé just in the last 6 or 9 months, I think we set up 2 more factories, one in Malaysia, one in China, just for plant-based product solutions. This is one of the parts, so really enlarging the product portfolio with vegan and vegetarian products, because we know that those have a much, much lower product footprint, like Loïc just said, or pointed out when we were comparing the vegetarian Piccolinis versus the one with cheese and meat on it. So this is very important, but also not talking about only new portfolios, but also taking a look at the existing portfolio and taking a look at the ingredients that we have there, and maybe changing some of the ingredients, maybe taking out, like we did for the vegan dough. We took out the milk. We didn't have to use it, we didn't have to have it in the dough, so we took it out, but maybe also to exchange some ingredients. So we have a whole team working, just taking a look at the recipes that we have and making decisions what maybe to switch or what to take out. So when we're talking about regenerative agriculture, like I said, most important is really to work with our farmers, to work with our suppliers. So this is 2 more slides on that, or maybe 3 slides. Regenerative agriculture, what does it mean for us? For us, it means taking a look at a farm, how a farmer really works, and changing some of their practices. Meaning here, reduce fertilizers, reduce pesticides, like Klaus pointed out, very important. to go into cover crops, so to really make the soil healthier. Because normally, if you talk to consumers, they say, okay, we do know that trees, they save CO2. But most important really is the soil. Most of the people are not aware that the soil really saves a lot of CO2, or sequesters a lot of CO2. So for us, it's important that we do work on a healthy soil with the farmers, so that the humus is getting more and more in the soil, and that the carbon will be sequestered in the soil. So most important really for us is to work on the soil, to work on cover crops, to it's not about organic, but it's changing some methods that the farmers do. We do have some examples of projects. This one is a project in France that we started in already 2018. It's a landscape approach, meaning that it was not only Nestlé, it's a corporate project together with retailers and with other producers, where we were just working with different farmers on potatoes, on wheat, on beetroot, and so on, to see how do they work on the ground, how can we reduce pesticides, how can we keep or make the soil more healthier. And this project will also be continued in the next years, and even made a little bit larger. Most important, if you take a look at the footprint again on the raw materials from Nestlé, the dairy sector is the most important sector actually. This is where the most emissions really occur. And for us it's important that we take along our suppliers, also the big Molkereien in Germany, the dairies in Germany that we have, but also the ones in Netherlands, in Holland, so in New Zealand, in the US, and so on. So what we said is, let's pick one farm of a supplier, it's called a net zero farm, and try to work with this one farmer to reduce his footprint by really net zero. Meaning, we have 30 levers that we can change at the farmer's farm, and reduce his footprint, and the remaining emissions that we have, let's try to work on regenerative agriculture with that farmer, so that the soil stores the remaining carbon that cannot be reduced. So that's what we call a net zero farm. Such a farm was set up almost 2 years ago now in South Africa. We can see huge benefits here. You can see here on the right-hand side what has been decreased, what emissions have been decreased already. Let me switch a bit to the left side so everyone can see. And we're just in the final process of setting up such a farm in Germany. We have set up, we are starting that farm also in the US, and a lot of more of those farms will follow, so that the learnings from this pilot farm can be leveraged to all of the 2,000, 3,000 other farmers that the dairies have. You know, so it's a little like a snowball effect that we're gonna use here. A lot of NGOs and universities are supporting those projects, also in Germany. We have one university that is working with us on the project to really gain some knowledge about how a dairy farmer can reduce the footprint. And for sure, when it comes into manufacturing, when it comes into packaging, we also have to find new ways here. We have to change our packaging, get rid of the plastic, change into
refill.
Thank you. Refills. And most important also here is to rethink. Yeah, maybe just don't use packaging anymore, but go into the refill sectors. There's a startup called Circolution that we're working together with, and also another one. Because if you talk about the soluble coffee or the pet food, maybe you don't need a packaging anymore. Maybe the consumers can go in the supermarket, take their Tupperware along, and then fill it up. You know, these are the ways of new thinking that we also trying out. And sure, like I said, good, 1 minute. Like I said, on the factories, for sure, it's also going into areas, using PPAs, changing towards renewable energy, but also here, rethinking how can we totally change maybe the way we produce. And this is also important. When I talked to our head of operations, he said, okay, we have to rethink, not only to reduce, we really have to rethink our ways we produce. So I think I'm over the time now, but most important here, someone, and I saw that via LinkedIn, said, okay, how much money really do the companies take and put into the area of climate change. Just in the next, and again, remaining 3.5 years, we're putting 3.2 billion Swiss francs into really our climate projects. Like I said, project together with farmers, project together with other suppliers. For sure, also a lot of money into the circular economy of plastics and into water projects. I guess that's it. We're open for questions in the Q&A section, I guess in half an hour.
Yes, after the coffee break.
Great. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.